Hey guys, so just recently Ninja QE dropped patch notes for Battles 2 Update 1.06, and I'm here to cover what they have planned. Now, the update isn't out yet. What you're seeing right now in the background is footage of random Battles 2 gameplay. And normally I don't make videos of patch notes until after it's actually out, but I figured this time would be an exception because, well, it's pretty important for the state of the game to see what's coming. Because if you didn't see my recent video about the state of the game, then I advise you to check it out, where I list out all the things that are causing the game to be almost unplayable. Main thing being the bug towers. Now, they do go over that. In fact, I'll go over that first. So yes, they do have it planned. Dartling Gunner Laser Shock will be fixed, as you see here, on top of the Ninja Sticky Bomb stacking. Yes, that is a bug. Now let's go all the way back up because they do say the update's coming soon, but if you read the top here, it does say this update may take a few weeks to release as the team is, just coming back from holidays. So this might be a similar situation to 1.04 where they posted the initial patch notes a week in advance, over a week in advance, and they just kept updating us with new changes. There's a lot to go through, so I'll try my best to keep it quick. So first off, I am kind of concerned that they are waiting to do a lot of other changes first before fixing the immediate problems. I'm just going to show you real quick that they have a ton of, price changes to underutilized towers. But I think really what would help the game immediately is, just the bug fixes that would change the game so much for the better if it got fixed. Like, I wouldn't mind at all if 1.06 had the Dartling and Ninja bug fixed and the exploits fixed. If that meant 1.06 would come earlier than a few weeks from now. Now, yes, I did include exploit because, as you see here, hacks and cheats. We're aware of various hacks, exploits, and cheats being used to get unfair wins. And as you see, it's a high priority for them to fix it. I want to make a correction from a previous video during the win streak where I said that the balloon send glitch, well, I didn't know at the time, it was actually something that people could exploit. So they do it intentionally to get free wins. And that's just making it very hard to play the game, on top of the current meta, when some of the games you run into are instant losses because of these exploiters. So again, that's why I was hoping that these fixes would come up first before the other less important changes. But if not, I think I'll be alright because it is a new season, and since there is 2 months to rank up, tryharding right now isn't of the utmost importance. Either way, moving on, let's look at the balloon ramping changes. So they increased the ramping of balloon class HP, which makes around 31 to 50 ramp even more quickly. Now, I'm not sure how much I'm a fan of this, because round 30 to 50 is already, well, pretty tough for a lot of towers. The reason why so many people are going late game right now is because, well, Dartling Gun is so cheap to defend stuff with in the early game that you can build up so much money, and thus you have so much more money to work with later on in the game, which makes it seem like round 31 to 50 isn't that strong. But again, I guess we'll have to see how much they change the values. I hope it's not too much of a multi-class HP buff. Otherwise, a lot of towers will become irrelevant in the late game. Also, next up, neutral balloon round changes. So they are basically making the AI balloons, the natural rounds, stronger. Start from round 11, and you can see all the changes here. I'm not going to go through all of them because, well, it is a lot. All I'll say is it's good for the game because now you can, maybe a good strategy might be to stack rushes on top of the natural balloons, making an even deadlier rush. So I'm excited to see what kind of stuff people come up with. Now we go to the tower balance changes. First off, Dart Monkey, Super Monkey Fan Club and Plasma Fan Club have been attack speed buffed by a little bit. On top of that, Ultra Juggernaut, price decrease, and Crossbow Master. I'm not sure how much that will really help because U-Jug and Crossbow Master is just really underpowered and might need a little bit more to compensate. Anyways, Boomerang, I guess this thing deserves a bit of a nerf. Bio Boomer did get decreased, but to compensate, Turbocharge is more expensive, more Glaives is more expensive, and so is more Press. I'm completely fine with these changes. On top of that, Glaive Lord, Orbital Glaives damage bonus, 2 to 5. Still don't think it's good enough to make Glaive Lord viable at all, but better than nothing, I guess. Some may say that more Press nerf isn't enough because, just getting 3 of them can stun a ZMG Rush, or knock back a ZMG Rush infinitely. But honestly, I think tiny nerfs are the way to go, because Boomerang, it's strong, but that's what it's supposed to be good for, the early and mid game, because its late game isn't very good. So if you keep on gutting its mid game, then soon it'll be useless. So I'm okay with these tiny nerfs, even though Mole Press will probably be still very oppressive against, you know, mid-game rushes. Bomb Shooter, just a tiny buff. Mob Eliminator, plus 30 damage. This probably isn't going to make Bomb any more viable, at least until either the Recursive or Bottom Path can pop Black Balloons like in PT6, or they make it so that the explosions of Recursive actually count as multiple explosions. Next up, here's a huge change. Ice Monkey, Metal Freeze to Snap Freeze from PT6. Snap Freeze is basically, it gives camo protection, so you don't need camo for Tier 2 Top Path and Ice Shards, which might make Ice so much more viable. And I'm excited to see what strategies we can come up with that. Glue Gunner gets a bug fix. Glue Strike effect now gets the +2 from PT6. And Balloon Solver got decreased. Really can't complain about these glue changes. I think the Glue Strike doing +2 damage will make it really good for mid-game. On top of that, the bug fix is huge because I did play around with Glue Gunners. You'll see a video of it at some point. But basically right now, the glue still targets balloons already glued, which makes it even worse than it currently is. So hopefully that'll bring glue from one of the worst towers to somewhat viable. As for Sniper, supply drop price upped by $400, and the initial cooldown is now 20 seconds instead of 10. Also made Moab stun length 1 second less on Moabs, a little bit less on BFBs, and ZMGs and DTs even less, 0.5 to 0.3. I think ZMGs were like 1 second before, and now it's all the way down to 0.3. I would say these nerfs are completely fine. I've heard people crying for even more buff or more nerfs to Sniper, and I'm like, no. I think this is good enough. In case you don't know already, supply drop eco is already worse than sending constant pinks. It's just, again, you have the power to sell it for more money for a rush later on in the game. So personally speaking, a $400 price nerf is fair, on top of, you know, the main mob changes and the initial cooldown. That's the biggest thing with the, like, any, like, money-giving ability. The fact that the cooldown's already almost back means, like, you can't really be punished, or it's very hard to punish people, because in 10 seconds they already get a huge amount of bonus back. So I'd say these are good changes for now. Again, my hope for these, like, current meta towers is not to have them be nerfed to the ground, but just to be leveled off, so that they're good, but they're not oppressive good. If that makes sense. Monkey Sub, this one's nice. Airburst decrease, triple guns, AP darts, ballistic missile damage, gets 1 to 2 damage, and more for ceramics. Preemptive Strike gets the same bonus from BTD6 in the last update. And this one's the biggest one. Activated ability is now battle ready, so now you have to wait 5 seconds. I'm glad NK has listened, because a lot of people have suggested this. But you'll see even lower down that the other abilities that had initial cooldowns, like Tech Terror or GZ, their ability cooldowns are gone. So you can now micro with them. Even though it is still hard with the current input delay, still better than having to wait 5 seconds. So I'm excited to perhaps bring Sub again, now that it got some much needed buffs. Moving on, Monkey Buccaneer got a few buffs. Destroyer cheaper, Merchantman cheaper, Flavor Trade, Straight Empire, more money from that. And the ability is now battle ready. They didn't mention here that the power load only hooks in 1 time per round, as in you can only use the ability once per round, which I think is really bad. I guess the instant ability is still a step in the right direction though. I still don't think Merchantman and Flavor Trades are going to be viable, or rather the money making isn't viable, but it makes sense because boats aren't supposed to be good money making, especially when you get the extra sell back from Flavor Trades. But again, better than nothing. Monkey Ace got a huge amount of changes. I like that because I think Monkey Ace is one of the worst counters in the game so far. Base price decreased, its attack cooldown, a little bit faster. Fighter plane does more damage and can now do unstoppable damage. Now, I don't know what unstoppable damage means. I've never seen NK use that term in the patch notes before. But if I had to guess, it just means normal type damage, so it can damage any type of balloon. So you don't need a mid for DTs, for example. That's just my guess, though. If someone knows, they can confirm in the comments. 4XX Operation Dartstorm. The Dark cooldown's faster, more Pierce, more mold damage. Again, can't complain. The problem with the ODS and just Ace in general right now is that if you want to use it for damage, and you're not using Bond Path, it's just so, like, not reliable, because it can't target the right balloons. And if you try to Ace Micro, well, it's hard to do that with input delay. So I guess to compensate for that, it should have, you know, more damage. Keep on going. Sky Shredder did get the extra attack speed buff too. Flying Fortress got cheaper, still too expensive, and GZ is now battle ready. That's good to see. Heli pilot. This is also another tower bottom of the barrel, but I think it still has some use. Base cooldown's a little bit faster. Apache also inherits that buff. And the missiles also get extra damage to ceramics, which is good to see. Same with the Apache Prime, so now hopefully it doesn't get destroyed by super ceramics. And Comanches do unstoppable damage. Again, not sure what that means, but I bet it just means lead damage. Mortar Monkey is another tower in need of buffs. Bloom Buster cheaper, Shell Shock cheaper, Big One more damage, Biggest One more damage. And Balloon Incineration ticks faster, which is also a good mob damage increase. So hopefully that'll make Mortar a little bit more viable, because right now, Mortar pretty much falls off once bats come, because it literally can't do anything to it. Here comes Dartling Gunner, as I mentioned already. Laser Shock is going to get fixed, but on top of that, Rocket Storm now does a little bit less damage, and the Storm Duration is cheaper, which is good, because even without Laser Shock, Rocket Storm is just an insane amount of balloon damage, and, well, it's way too good for $5,000 if you ask me. On top of that, Mad damage got increased, so they're buffing the late game of it, which is completely fine if you ask me. Same with the Ray of Doom, probably still useless. If anyone's thinking they should nerf the Dartling Gunner even more, I'd say it's okay. I know that the early game Dartling Gunner is still super strong, but I think now that Hydro Rocket's getting fixed, the mid game will be more exploitable, so it's not just easy to defend until round 17, 18 for Dartling Gun. Wizard Monkey, not much to say here. They just really increase fireball damage, but nobody really uses fireball anyways, so I don't think it's significant enough to make a difference. Ninja Monkey, cow drops, duration decrease. The only reason they did this is to compensate for lag, because the fact that cow drops last so long, spam a lot of bomb path ninjas, and yeah, there'll be billions of cow drops on the track. And I already mentioned Sticky Bomb, so moving on. Super Monkey is getting a nerf and a buff. Tech tier abilities are now immediate. Royal Monkey Sun Avatar price buffs, but to compensate, Knockback and Dark Knight got nerfed a little bit, which is fine. Dark Knight is really strong for its price, and Knockback too. No complaints here. Still think Super Monkey is going to be just fine. Here's Spicy One, Banana Farm. They decreased the price of pretty much every upgrade here. On top of that, they added the extra style back from XX2 from BT6, which is good. Also, Monkey Bank, interest 20%, and extra money per round. Now that's what I'm talking about, because the Monkey Bank is more expensive in this game, so these price buffs should make it viable, at least in the middle path. Although, yeah, with Dartling Gun getting nerfed, I think Banana Farms will make it back, at least on some maps, because these price changes look really nice. And I'm excited to try farms once this update drops. Spike Factory, base spike duration got decreased, that's okay by me. Spike Factory is really strong. But Spike Storm no longer increases emission rate from attack speed buffs. This is the same change they did in BT6, and I'm personally not a fan. I think what they should have done is actually, I saw a comment of this on this same thread. Let me just find it real quick. Alright, so the comment's right here. Basically, their suggestion was that instead of nerfing the fact that the fire rate doesn't get increased, how about just make it so that the Pierce doesn't get added? Because right now, the thing that's making Spike Factory really good is Village plus Spike Factory, because it gets a 4x buff because it doubles the Pierce and the attack speed of it. But if they just nerf the Pierce, or don't have Pierce add to it, then that basically accomplishes the same effects in terms of, you know, nerfing the Village plus Factory combo. Because right now they're killing Boost plus Spike Storm with this. And I don't know if that is a good thing, because I know Spike Storm is strong, but other than Spike Storm, Spike Factory really isn't that good. So I think with these nerfs, Spike Factory will see very little use, but that's just me. Okay, and last tower change, the Monkey Village Homeland is now battle ready, so they just reverted the change they did in the last update. Now, a couple of missions that I noticed, Druid and Alchemist. There are bugs to Druid and Alchemist that are making it worse than it currently is. One, Middle Path X3X. If you spam multiple of them, they will target the same balloon, so you get way less damage. And apparently, Lightning doesn't scale with Heart of Vengeance, which is also a pretty big problem. And it sucks to see that it's not currently on here, but hopefully they will be able to fix it by the time this update comes out. On top of that, Alchemist. Right now, the 4th tier only affects one at a time. Same with the Perm Brew. And I haven't seen a bug fix on that yet. But again, hopefully they do have plans to fix it. Now there's no more. Arena changes. For ZMG and HOM, we're taking these maps out of the rotation. This was a very popular change. Some people may not agree, but that's probably because they're not in ZMG or HOM. But basically, it's not fun getting these maps, guys, in the highest arenas. Because the players are good enough to go round 50 almost every time. At least that's in the current Dartling meta. Once towers get nerfed, I know it won't get to round 50 every time. But even then, I think shorter maps just make for more exciting gameplay overall. And if you disagree with that, then that's completely fine. You have your own opinion. But I'm personally good with not playing 50-minute lag fests. Only thing I would say is maybe add in the wall to this instead of Mayan, because that is a longer map than Mayan. Also, I thought they added it this season, but we are considering changing the trophy bans for the higher arenas to allow more players into Hall of Masters. Basically, in the recent Reddit post that they made, they were planning to lower Hall of Masters to 80 trophies, and as such, making BFB Coliseum only 5 trophies, so 70 to 75, and ZMG from 75 to 80. I'm personally not a fan of this change because I mean, 100 is just a good number to stop at. Now, I know it's a little silly to complain about something as small as this, but still, it just feels really weird having the last 2 arenas have such a small amount to climb. My suggestion that I shared a few times on stream was that they just leave the win streak bonus, perhaps all the way up to Mall Pit or BFB Coliseum. That way, there are still more trophies to fluctuate around, and that naturally will make more people get into Hall of Masters. And that way you don't have to change the numbers or make the other arenas smaller to compensate. Also, one more change here. We're considering restricting tiers based on your lower arena. Now, this might sound like a good idea on paper, but this is actually really bad when the season resets because you lose half your trophies. If you didn't see, I was in Hall of Masters and I dropped to Ceramic Crucible when the new season came out. So 50 trophies. So that means if I just lose a few games, then I'm back down in Lead Dungeon. And so are all the ZMG players. And that basically means, like, when a new season comes out, you're basically playing with Tier 4 towers in what's technically ZMG Superdome, which doesn't fly with me. Otherwise, I think it's an okay change, but I think they should lower it to, like, even maybe just Yellow Stadium Tier 3 and White Wasteland Tier 4. No need to have Lead Dungeon included, because there will be a lot of ZMG and BP players. And last thing, likely next update after 1.06, they'll add casual mode, private matches, universal XP, and new maps. Nothing to complain about there. These are all changes that I'm excited to see. And I know that changing more than just a value of number will take more than a few weeks. So I will await patiently for these very cool changes. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this patch note rundown. Again, I generally don't do these, but I thought this was important enough to make an exception for. If you guys have any thoughts on the patch notes themselves, or my opinions on them, then feel free to leave a comment. Excited to see the discussion. Until then, stay tuned for more Battles 2 content. I have a lot of fun stuff planned with the new season, along with a few old videos from the previous season that I hope you'll still find entertaining. And that is all. See you guys in the next one.